Hello, my name is Ronald Fowler. This will be my Module 6 assignment for leading across contexts and cultures through Aspen University. Today we'll be discussing training culturally competent and diverse leaders. We'll describe the dimension of cultural difference with a leader's skill set and its context, discussion over the multicultural and global leader dilemmas, how they promote a harmonious, diverse, and global society, explain several components of developing high-functioning teams using tools like the KSA and leader self-awareness, and discussion over how these three concepts are related and pertain to managing effective, globally diverse teams. Overview for training culturally competent and diverse leaders. Additionally, this presentation will focus on 14 cultural orientation value dimensions, 8 multicultural and global dilemmas, as it pertains, and utilization of a knowledge, skills, and awareness to help train leaders with an emphasis on cultural difference and diversity. The 14 cultural orientation value dimensions to be discussed will be power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individual and collectivism, gender differentiation, universalism and particularism, neutral versus effective, specific versus diffuse, achievement versus ascription, attitudes towards time control, internal versus external control, assertiveness, future orientation, performance orientation, and finally humane orientation. The first three of the cultural orientation values dimensions to be discussed are power distance, uncertainty avoidance, and individual and collectivism. Power distance, how the context of the employees, cultures, and/or individuals accept the inequality, actual or perceived, in the power and authority title. Individuals considered low power distance tend to expect equality in their power, and they typically do not readily accept a leader's authority demanded solely by a leader's title. Individuals considered high power distance more readily accept and appreciate the dynamics of age, education, and seniority in leadership based off title. Uncertainty avoidance. Levels of comfort or discomfort individuals have over ambiguity and uncertainty. Levels of comfort are individuals considered low uncertainty avoidant tend to tolerate unstructured and unpredictable situations with more ease and acceptance. And the underlying question over this consideration, culturally, is should individuals try and control the future or simply let it happen? And then individual and collectivism refers to social framework that employees perceive or prioritize as needs. In individualistic cultures, individuals expect people to take care of themselves, and collectivistic people expect organizations to look out for employees' interests. Gender differentiation tends to be the masculine and feminine dimension and the tradition around gender roles in the workplace. The masculine assumption usually associates with material reward, assertiveness, and/or heroism. The feminine assumption usually associates with life quality, cooperation, and/or modesty. Universalism and particularism. Universalistic employees or cultures believe rules are more important than relationships, and particularistic individuals believe that rules depend on relationships and the situation under consideration. Neutral versus effective. Neutral individuals feel like they should stay calm and mask their feelings, and effective individuals are very emotionally expressive with inflection and gestures. We have specific versus diffuse. Specific individuals tend to be clear, blunt, and to the point. Diffuse individuals tend to do better with ambiguity and professional communication. Some diffuse cultural individuals tend to deliver harsher or negative news with less pointed delivery to save face and avoid unpleasantries. Achievement versus ascription. Achievement cultures only find titles valuable if they reflect competencies like a doctor or professor. Ascription cultures tend to place high value on titles like boss or manager, for example. Attitudes towards time control. Some cultures, like America, tend to appreciate timeliness and promptness, and some cultures, like India, tend to not hold it in such high regard. Moving on, internal versus external control. Internal cultures, like Japan, try to live in harmony with nature, moving and building around it. And external cultures, like America, believe in moving nature to meet our needs, like redesigning the landscape for a new building over building it into the landscape. Assertiveness. Assertive individuals tend to be tough, competitive, and confrontational. The opposite tend to be considered tender and often modest. Future orientation. The future-oriented individuals tend to delay their gratification and plan for long-term returns over instant gains. The opposite tend to reach for immediate gratification and push or delay resulting or looming issues for a later date. Performance orientation. Performance orientation cultures focus on performance and invest on training and development. The opposite tend to focus on loyalty, belonging, family, and background. And then a humane orientation. Humane orientation cultures tend to be fair and caring while also being generous, altruistic, and kind. The opposite tend to focus on power, enhancement, and self-enhancement. Moving on to multicultural and global leader dilemmas. The ones we'll discuss are self-awareness identity, image management, negotiation, communication, decision-making, problem-solving and managing conflict, work culture, team building, leading global teams. To begin, self-awareness identity. Leaders need to know who they are and who they need to be for success in an organization and decide if they can make the conformity without too much self-sacrifice. The dilemma is built off the moral compass and how leaders to accommodate situations while remaining authentic. Image management. The dilemma is how, when, or even a leader should curate their image and if it will appear disingenuous and/or unauthentic. Accuracy at this effort starts with understanding over how the development of social identities can frame leadership behavior and/or bias their effectiveness and personality. Negotiation. The art of negotiation includes winning and losing, assertiveness, conflict, and direct conversation. All dilemmas of cultural consideration, cooperation, gender differences, and cultural context should be considered to ensure the most favorable outcome when conducting cross-cultural negotiations. Communication. Leadership is grounded on communication and influence, and they are built off of either formal and/or informal communication strategies and cultural considerations. Moving on. Decision-making. Low or high centralized decision-making results in either participative or non-participative decision-making among employees. Problem-solving and managing conflict. With consideration over individual goals, attitudes, emotions, and behaviors, conflict can bring individuals together to solve issues quickly, or it can cause cultural rifts within and throughout an organization that will hinder progress and production. Work culture. Cultures like Japan focus on group effort, loyalty, honor, and holism. Cultures like America focus on individualism, self-reliance, self-starting, and often self-direction. Team building. Leading global teams. While advancing through the team building stages, leaders will need to disrupt the inaccurate social assumptions between groups and bring them together in a purposed way. Moving on to leader self-awareness, the self-assessment. Leader self-assessment training using a KSA model focuses on individual awareness over cultural influences, social identities, and effective leadership styles. Most leadership training programs stop at this point and do not include additional levels of awareness to include assessing strengths and weaknesses, cultural and personality identity structure, and who you are in the context of what cultural groups you identify with. We'll leave the references up here, and I thank you very much for your attention.